Hello and welcome to Extra Innings on National Sports Radio. I am Van Noland and I am joined tonight, as always, by Owen Noland. We are back live for the first time in, I think, 3 weeks. I would encourage you guys to go back and listen to our episodes from the past 2 weeks. There was another broadcast on NSR at the time of Extra Innings the past 2 weeks. So we just recorded the episodes offline and published them right afterwards. But it is good to be back live with you guys. It's always better to be live, at least in my opinion. We have a lot of baseball news to get you guys caught up on. We are ready for a great week of pennant races throughout all of baseball. But we're going to start in minor league baseball. The minor league baseball playoffs are underway as we speak. A lot of championship series have begun throughout all the different levels. So I'm going to let Owen start us off this evening.
Yes, instead of the prospect roundup the past 2 weeks, this week and last week, we have the minor league baseball playoff roundup. This week we'll focus on AA and AAA. Both of those seasons wrapped up tonight with their respective championship games. Starting out in AA, the Jacksonville, not Jacksonville, the Jackson Generals, I almost said Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, I was confused there for a minute. The Jackson Generals defeated the Biloxi Shuckers, thank you. I was drawing a blank on their nickname. In the AA National Championship, Michael Blazek got the win for the Generals, and Nate Gripe took the loss for the Shuckers. It was a 3-2 win for the Generals, and they capture the AA Championship. Scoring a run in the bottom of the ninth. They scored 2 in the top of the first. Biloxi came back to tie it with 1 in the fourth and 1 in the sixth. And then Jacksonville scored in the top of the ninth 2 in what would end up being the game-winning home run. A very exciting game in Mississippi. Actually, that was on Saturday, September 15th, so this past Saturday. Right? Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yes, today's the 18th, which would have been Saturday the 15th. In AAA, we had the AAA National Championship game. I talked about the other rounds of the AAA playoffs last week, so go and check out last week's show if you're interested in how these two teams got here. The two teams that ended up playing in the AAA National Championship this evening were the Memphis Redbirds and the Durham Bulls. And the Memphis Redbirds won in convincing fashion, 14-4. Memphis had 14 runs on 17 hits. So when you need the bats to come alive the most, that's exactly what they did tonight. Memphis Redbirds are the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Durham Bulls are the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. And it is worth mentioning these two teams played in the AAA Championship a year ago, so a rematch of last year's game in which Durham won, I believe. I think I remember talking about this on the show, the Durham Bulls winning the AAA National Championship. The Memphis Redbirds get their revenge this year and win 14-4. Again, Memphis is the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Something we'll talk about, I plan to talk about on next week's show, or maybe we'll save it for the off-season, is the affiliation shuffle. There's a lot going on. Colorado Springs is moving. They no longer have a AAA baseball team. That left the Brewers without a AAA affiliate, so there's lots of minor league affiliates shuffling places. We will hopefully talk about that next week, or in the coming weeks, maybe in the off-season. That'll be a good off-season episode to talk about the affiliations, minor league teams, things of that nature. But for now, we just focus on the minor league playoffs and the minor league playoff roundup presented by the Fire Fan app. Download the Fire Fan app on your smartphone, your Android device, your Apple device today. And with that, we get to the Major League Baseball news, the news you're all waiting for. I know lots of big pennant races to be decided in the final weeks of the regular season, and there are some key series going on right now that Van is going to tell you about.
Yes, we are going to start on the East Coast with probably the series that everyone is paying attention to. I'm sure you'll see it if you tune into SportsCenter tomorrow morning on the top of the headlines. And that is the Yankees and the Red Sox. That series began tonight. Both teams had the day off yesterday, so the Yankees and the Red Sox began play tonight. The Yankees sat 11.5 out entering this evening, and if they wanted any hope of staying alive in the American League East and wanted a chance to dethrone the Red Sox as the American League East champions, they would have needed to win, as their elimination number is 2 and the Boston Red Sox magic number is 2 to clinch the entire division. And the Yankees did just that. They won 3-2 this evening. The Red Sox jumped out to an early lead in the third. The Yankees responded with 3 runs of their own in the seventh. A Neil Walker home run, his 10th of the year, gave the Yankees the lead, and they did not look back. The Red Sox almost mounted a comeback in the ninth, but Zach Britton closed it down for the Yankees. So at least for now, the Yankees are still alive in the American League East. Of course, the Red Sox magic number I just mentioned a few seconds ago is 2, and since they are playing each other, a Red Sox win would mean a Yankees loss, which would mean the Red Sox would clinch the division. So the Red Sox will be back at it tomorrow to try to clinch the division. Last week, they became the first team to clinch a playoff berth.
The first team to clinch their division title was the Cleveland Indians. That happened over the weekend. On Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Or it might have been Friday night. But the Cleveland Indians clinched the American League Central and a playoff berth. So they will be in the playoffs, and the Red Sox will be in the playoffs. Those two teams we know for sure.
Yes. Now, the other 2 series I would like to highlight are in the National League. We are going to begin in Arizona, where the D-backs are taking on the Chicago Cubs. These 2 teams began the series yesterday, a game in which the Cubs won by a score of 5-1. Liam Hendricks got the win for the Cubs. It was a very important win for the Cubs because the Brewers both the Brewers and the Cardinals won last night. So by the time the Cubs game has been going on, they knew that they needed to win to stay on top of that National League Central. Well, I guess they wouldn't have lost the whole entire division lead last night, but just to get closer to claiming the division title, the Cubs knew they would have to win, and that is what they did. The Diamondbacks going through a tough stretch right now. They have only won 2 games out of their last 10 and are close to elimination from the playoff picture. A Cubs win tonight would eliminate the Pittsburgh Pirates from NL Central contention. And actually, yes, that's pretty much all a Cubs win tonight means definitively for now. But the Diamondbacks, who are second out of the race for the wild card, would be behind the Cardinals. They would lose a game on the Cardinals because the Cardinals already won tonight, 8-1 in Atlanta. So a lot on the line there. As that game is in the 5th inning right now, the Cubs have the 5-1 lead. Wouldn't that be interesting? The same score as the night before.
I'm sure it's happened a lot before.
I'm sure it's happened like all the time. It's probably really common.
It's probably happened a lot this year if you just look back at.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Since between now and April, or since April to now, I'm sure it's happened a lot. The Diamondbacks, though, have struggled recently. They could be eliminated this weekend when they play the Rockies in another big series. This weekend in Arizona, they're at home, but their hopes of winning the division are fading fast if they don't start to turn things around.
Yes, the Diamondbacks, a lot of people had started to write them off last week.
When they got swept, or when they got only won 1 out of 4 against the Rockies.
Yes, and even earlier than that, they saw the Diamondbacks had the tough schedule. I wasn't ready to completely write them off. I think the Diamondbacks are a talented team. I think they could easily turn it around still. You just have to get hot for a 2-week stretch of time, and all of a sudden the races could be turned on their heads. That's what's so exciting, I think, about September baseball.
Yes, whoever gets hot at the right time, that's what it's all about. You've got pretty much every series between divisional opponents, and when division races are as close as they are, especially in the NL West, you've got 3 teams battling for first place. Whichever team gets hot at the right time is going to win the division, especially when you look at the Dodgers, Rockies, Diamondbacks, they'll play each other. Actually, even going back to last week, they've played each other a lot. Rockies have games against the Dodgers this week and the Diamondbacks. So a sweep or a series win goes a long way in deciding who will win the division. A good opportunity for both the Rockies and Dodgers this series to potentially take command of the division and maybe put it away for good. Although I doubt anything will be decided in this series.
Are you talking about the Rockies and Dodgers?
Yes. It will come down, I think, to the final few days of the regular season. And it's kind of a shame they don't play each other then, because the Rockies, I know, play the Nationals, the final series of the year, and they also play the Phillies. So after the Dodgers and D-backs, this is their last divisional games of the year. Then you play outside of the division foes, teams with nothing to lose that are outside of the playoff contention as it stands right now.
The Nationals still could make the NL wild card.
They could, but it's a little bit of a long shot.
Yes.
And the Phillies, how many games are the Phillies back? 6 now?
Yes.
Phillies are now 6 games back, so those two teams will have nothing to play for, which might be...
How do you know? What if they go on a win streak right now and get hot?
It's very unrealistic that they make up 6 games in the final
Because the
week.
Phillies have the Mets right now.
It's a math.
And they have the Braves. They have the Braves.
Today is Tuesday. The regular season ends next Sunday, which means at most you have 7, 8, 12 more games left, if my math is correct. It's hard to make up 6 games in 12, especially when you have to leapfrog a lot of teams ahead of you, right? It's not just winning 6 games and the Rockies or the Cardinals losing 6 games. You've got to get ahead of the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and the Cardinals.
Theoretically, if you were to win 6 games and the Cardinals were to lose 6 games,
you'd be ahead of them, but then you might not be ahead of the Rockies or the
other
Diamondbacks.
teams lose?
See, that's why it's so hard.
I know, yes.
I know mathematically it's technically still possible, but based on the percentages, it's a long shot. So by the time next week rolls around, they could already be eliminated by the time they play the Rockies. Or the Rockies could eliminate them with a win in the series. So a team with nothing to play for, though, in September. Even the Nationals, who I still contend are one of the most talented teams in baseball, despite what their record says, despite how they've performed all year. If you're throwing Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg 2 or 3 games against the Rockies, and the Rockies are playing and competing for a playoff spot, I would not want to face Max Scherzer or a lineup with Bryce Harper in it. That scares me a little bit if you're a Rockies fan. Would you not agree, Van?
I would definitely agree. Scary stuff.
Right, if it comes down to the final day of the regular season, and I don't know how the Nationals pitching works out, if this will actually happen, and the Rockies and Dodgers are tied, I do not want to face Max Scherzer on the last day of the regular season when you need a win to make the playoffs.
Yes. Let's get back to the series right now.
Yes.
Between the Rockies and the Dodgers.
Some people have called this the biggest series in Colorado Rockies franchise history. And they might be right.
I think they are right.
I think they are right, too. So we both agree on that, it seems like.
A chance at the division title really out there for the taking right now for the Colorado Rockies. They are knotted at 1 in the top half of the 4th inning in Southern California as we speak.
So that's quite the pitcher's duel. You haven't talked about this. Kershaw versus Freeland, 2 of the best left-handers in all of baseball going at it in a pennant race. It doesn't get much better than this, folks. If I were you, honestly, I don't recommend not listening to the show. But I might turn off the show right now and go find a couch and a TV where you can watch this game, because this is a great game. This is what you live for as a baseball fan, as a fan of the Rockies or the Dodgers, to play meaningful games in September. 2 aces going at it on the mound in what is an epic pitcher's duel. Maybe you could just have us on in the background, or maybe you mute the TV for a little bit and listen to us.
I think that's what you do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can keep your eye on the game and your ear to this podcast.
Yes. That is a good idea. A lot of tight division races, that are all but settled. You already mentioned the Indians have already clinched the division with a win tomorrow or Thursday. The Red Sox clinch the division, and in the American League West, the Mariners were eliminated this past week from division title contention. The Astros, winners of 7 out of their last 10. And the A's also winners of 7 out of their last 10. Right now, hello, you are live on Extra Innings on National Sports Radio. Do you have a question or comment for us this evening?
Yes, I do. This is Big Poppy from Lakewood, Colorado. What do you hear about Trevor's story? What happened after they found out anything? I'll hang up and listen for your answer. Thanks, and I'm enjoying the show.
Thank you so much for your call. Trevor's story, he got injured in the game last night between the Rockies and Dodgers. Obviously having an MVP-type season for the Rockies at shortstop. And Rockies fans were collectively holding their breath when he exited the game last night. Early reports were he could have UCL damage and it might require Tommy John, much like the Dodgers starting shortstop Corey Seager. But reports later in the day said it's not as serious as that and that he might only miss a few days, which could be great news for the Rockies. They've got Garrett Hampson playing shortstop tonight. It appears he will be out. Well, he's obviously out tonight. He's not in the starting lineup tonight. But he could just be day-to-day and might return for the Arizona series this weekend. Great news for Rockies fans. Some people first thought when it happened he might need Tommy John. He might be out for the rest of the season. Yes, Daniel, you're raising your hand.
Yeah,
So
Bud Black. This afternoon, what you're referring to, Owen, is that the reports were denied. Yes, it was Bud Black himself that came out and said this, that the injury was not as serious as you may think. Trevor Story, maybe the most valuable player to the Rockies team this year. Would you say so?
Would I agree with that? No.
No?
I would not. I would say Kyle Freeland has been the most valuable player for the Rockies this year.
Okay, I want to hear why. Because I would argue it's Trevor Story.
He's having, by the numbers, one of, if not the best statistical season by a pitcher in franchise history. His home ERA at Coors Field is one of the lowest ever. His ERA overall is second only to Ubaldo Jimenez's 2010 season when he started the All-Star game for the National League. Kyle Freeland has been the one pitcher that you can give the ball to every fifth day and know that he's going to give you a quality start. That hasn't always been the case even for guys like German Marquez, John Gray. John Gray's been up and down. You saw it last night with a rough start. German Marquez has struggled at times too, but he's been arguably the second best pitcher. Kyle Freeland has been consistent all year long. You need starting pitching to win in the playoffs. You need a guy like Kyle Freeland that you can give the ball to in a wildcard game, in a game one of the NLDS, where you can say, this guy's going to give me a quality start, and we have a great chance to win anytime he's on the hill.
The Rockies, the Rockies reshuffled their rotation so that Marquez or Gray would start a game 163 or a wild card game.
This is news to me. Where did you hear this?
Just Twitter.
Well, what, is it an article? What's the rotation look like? Actually, I did notice they went with, Tyler Anderson's going to start tomorrow.
I forget where it was.
Really? They're going to have John Gray or German Marquez start in a wild card game or a playoff or a game 160? Because to me that just seems silly. That just seems, and nothing against Gray or Marquez, but Kyle Freeland has far and away been your best pitcher.
But John Gray's an ace.
He's okay. We're not going to get into this debate because it depends on your definition of an ace. I'd say Kyle Freeland is an ace. German Marquez could be considered an ace. German Marquez, I don't know if he got it on Saturday night, but he was 4 strikeouts away from the Rockies' single-season record, and I honestly don't remember if he got the record, but he will for sure break it this year. He's got 1, maybe 2 more starts in him in the regular season to break Ubaldo Jimenez's 2010 record. Kyle Freeland has been Kyle Freeland and German Marquez and John Gray are arguably the best, have formed the best rotation the Rockies have ever had. The best 1-2-3 punch, and that will, I think, be able to take you a long ways in October if they get there. One thing I don't understand, Vin, is you said they did shuffling of their rotation. It doesn't really matter if they win the division, because then you have the days off anyways. You can say
You always have to be prepared.
I know, and it's good they're prepared. I just think that you should start Freeland in a game 163. Why wouldn't you start Freeland is my question. Do they know something I don't know? They must know something I don't know, because after John Gray's performance last night, I do not trust him getting the ball in a big game. I trust Kyle Freeland a lot more than I do John Gray. German Marquez is interesting to me too. He hasn't been as consistent as Freeland, but he's been just as effective, especially recently. He has, I think, better stuff, better pitches than Kyle Freeland, more upside than Kyle Freeland does. To be an ace, to be a front of the rotation starter, but this year you cannot argue with the job that Kyle Freeland has done. Just look at what he's doing tonight, going toe-to-toe with Clayton Kershaw, an MVP, a Cy Young, a future first-ballot Hall of Famer. So why you wouldn't give the ball to Kyle Freeland, I have no idea.
Maybe because the game would be on the road.
I don't care if the game is on Mars or the moon. I would start Kyle Freeland.
Interesting. But I never got my chance to tell you why Trevor Story is the MVP of the Rockies.
You're right. And not that either of us are wrong. There's a case to be made for both.
Yes, but
because Story's had a great season this year, I'm sure you're going to tell me why, so I'll stop talking.
Without going too deep into the analytics and the numbers of what Trevor Story has done or what Kyle Freeland has done, the mere fact that the Rockies' offense has been more inconsistent this year and maybe just flat out worse this year than basically any other year in really recent memory and in maybe a lot of years in Rockies' history combined, the fact that Trevor Story has been so consistent and so good when there were so many question marks surrounding him coming into the season is truly impressive. Kyle Freeland, a lot of people had high expectations for the whole Rockies rotation. A lot of people knew the Rockies would pitch. The Rockies' offense...
Really? Because I feel like the national media doesn't think that.
National media doesn't
People in Denver, people that have followed the Rockies for years, knew that they would be able to pitch because they've spent the past 5-10 years committed to drafting pitching and developing pitching. So people around Denver knew that they would have a good pitching. People nationwide, look at Sunday Night Baseball on Sunday night. Literally this past Sunday, they said, and I don't remember the full context, but you know the Rockies can hit. That was the words from the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast team. Really? Because this Rockies offense has not been too good this year. If they had a better offense, if they had an offense like they had even last year, they would, I think, be running away with the NL West. But their offense just has gone through struggles. Take this past weekend series. They scored runs in only one of the 27 innings. One of the 27 innings they scored runs in. 26 innings they got shut out in San Francisco this past weekend, and they still managed to win one game. So when you take that into consideration, it's incredible to me that they did not get swept, and that's a testament to their pitching. That's a testament to guys like Kyle Freeland, German Marquez, who have been terrific, who are the reason that the Rockies are where they are at this point in the season this year. And that's why I go with Kyle Freeland as the most valuable player of the Rockies in 2018.
Okay.
Really, that's all you got?
That's a very good argument and a very good case. I just think Trevor Story has been better. And that is my opinion.
All right, now can we wrap this up so I can watch the rest of this epic pitcher's duel?
Yes, we can. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, other than I want to watch the game.
Red Sox, anything?
No, I just want to watch the game.
Okay. So, with that being said, we will wrap up tonight's podcast. We would like to thank you for listening whenever and however. We will be back next week with a clearer postseason picture at the same time in the same place. You have been listening to Extra Innings on National Sports Radio.